Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and we have done it. We have reached the end of my Batman movie watching, a lot of movie watching. So, of course, that means that I am here to talk about The Dark Knight Rises. This is the end of Christopher Nolan's trilogy. This movie came out in 2012. This film takes place some 8 years after the event of The Dark Knight, and we see that Batman has sort of retired. Bruce Wayne's been in hiding. There hasn't really been a need for Batman during this time because of the Dent Act. They've been able to keep criminals locked up for multiple sentences. And as this is going on, we see the emergence of a new threat which is being led by Bane. And Bane is this big enforcer, imposing figure that's leading an army to come to Gotham and basically continue where Ra's al Ghul left off. So Batman has to come out of hiding and stop him. Now, what I think of The Dark Knight Rises is, I love this movie. I do. And it's funny because when I first saw this movie in the theater, I still enjoyed it. I still very much liked it, but it left me uneasy. Just a whole bunch of wave of emotions, and it took multiple viewings for me to fully appreciate the story, to fully appreciate what was going on. I feel like every time I watch it, I see something new or something that makes the story make even more sense. First things first, Christian Bale as Batman / Bruce Wayne. Let's talk about it. Everybody, or at least a lot of people, complained about the fact that Batman gave up. Batman has been retired for 8 years at the beginning of this movie after the event of The Dark Knight, and I too was surprised. I was like, wow, that's a long stretch of time, 8 years, and you don't fully, I guess, know for sure if it has something to do with Rachel dying, or if it was his injuries from the last movie, or if it's, like, I'm rewatching it now and they talk about how there hasn't been a need for Batman. There hasn't been a whole lot of high-level criminal activity since this whole Dent Act was put in. And so, sure, I might have questioned it at first, but the more I watch it, the more I'm okay with it, the more I go with it. You could tell this was inspired from The Dark Knight Returns Frank Miller comic, and I like the elements that they used from it.
Boy, you are in for a show tonight, son.
The whole idea of Batman, sure, he's not old, but he is older, he is a little weathered. Just Batman, Bruce Wayne being broken down, just beaten down, right? Even when he comes out of retirement, and he is back to get in there. Throughout the movie, he loses Alfred. Alfred leaves the house. He becomes broke. They steal all of his money. And then, of course, he becomes crippled. It's just like, how many more times can you hit this man over the head, over and over again? But before I move on, I need to talk about something that I haven't talked about in all of these Dark Knight reviews, the Batman voice. This is something that's been infamous with Christian Bale's Batman, and some people hate it. They do, they hate it, they parody it, they make fun of it like crazy. And that's fine, whatever. But for me personally, I like it. I like his Batman voice. I do, because sure, maybe it is really intense and really just rough, but I think it works. You definitely can't tell it's Bruce Wayne. You can't even tell it's Christian Bale, let's be honest. It's the most distinct that Batman's voice has been. And I think there are moments where it's intimidating, it's threatening. I even like the moment where he uses it, the scene where he's talking to Selena Kyle.
Miss Kyle. So that's what that feels like.
Tom Hardy as Bane. This is something that Tom Hardy, he's a great actor. He is. And you see him in a bunch of movies and it's like, wow, he can do anything. But when you hear him being cast as Bane, at least traditional Bane, you go, what? That can't work physically. It's not gonna match. But that's the talent of Tom Hardy. He's able to pull a character like this off.
Of course.
He's able to look even bigger than I think he is in real life. Somehow, some way, they shot it to where Bane looks like a huge dude. He's jacked to the gills, and the mask is slightly different in how they explain that it works for his breathing and how it makes his voice sound. He has personality, and that's something that you never really saw in the Bane character before this version. And only Chris Nolan, right? How many times does a comic book character get put into a movie, and if they get changed, if the characters drastically change for the movie, people lose their mind, they lose their shit. How many people saw this version of Bane and said, you know what, this version's kind of better than the version that was in the comics? I said that. I said this is a much more interesting Bane, especially a Bane that at least seems like he's leading this army and taking over the League of Shadows. That's awesome. Taking over Ra's al Ghul, like all of that was fascinating. I did not expect it to be this connected to the Batman Begins movie like it was, so I love that. Anne Hathaway as Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman. Anne Hathaway is kind of another one where she's a great actress and a whole bunch of stuff, Academy Award nominee and whatnot, but it's like you never know if she could pull this character off.
Oops.
And this Catwoman, this Selina Kyle, is so bright. She's so comic book Selina Kyle that I love it. I love her attitude. I love the fact that at least when you first meet her, she's out for herself. She's hell-bent on trying to find this clean slate device. She wants to move on from her past and get out of the city and just be done with this. And you feel for her. That's the moments where you feel for her. But I love the moments where she uses her deceit. She uses her woman ways. She knows what she has to do to get by. And she even kind of uses that on Batman. In costume, she looks great. She looks hot as hell. The leather outfit. She's in great shape. Like, Anne Hathaway really impressed me. Really went above and beyond with this character.
He's behind you.
I even like the fact that she develops feelings for Batman. Look, she's a character that she's hard to read. She doesn't show her emotions quickly, but she does have moments where she either feels bad for screwing Batman over, or she flat out shows her affection for Batman. And those are the moments where I like her the most. I love the version of Selina where she starts bad but ends up on the good side. Gary Oldman back as Commissioner Gordon. Obviously Gary Oldman is great, but I love what he's going through here. Here's a guy who is looked at as a war hero for everything that him and Batman have done, and especially now with how clean the streets have been under his watch. But he feels guilt. He's been keeping this secret for years with the Dent Act, and just the fact that he's one of the only people who know what Harvey Dent really did, what Harvey Dent really became. And he's been keeping it to himself. He's been almost teasing, wanting to say it to the public, reveal the truth, but you don't know what that's going to bring. You don't know what chaos that might cause. And it's hard for him. Again, there's no black and white sometimes with these characters, with these situations. You don't know what was really the right thing to do, especially in a case like this. Now that brings me to Michael Caine as Alfred. Wow. Michael Caine, of course, great actor, really accomplished. And even in these movies, he's delivered each and every single time as Alfred. But this movie, he has these moments, he has these scenes where he really shows his affection for Bruce. And he's trying to warn him about Bane, trying to warn him that you might not be ready for this guy. And he's so worried about this that he finally says, all right, you know what? I'm just going to tell him the truth. And the scene where he tells him about Rachel's letter.
And what if, to spare you pain, I burnt that letter?
It's so heart-wrenching. It pulls at the strings a little bit. Even rewatching it now, I'm like tearing up, and it's effective. It works because the acting's that great. The relationship between the two of them is that great. As far as a new character, though, let's talk about Joseph Gordon-Levitt as John Blake. John Blake starts off as an officer working for Gordon. He eventually becomes a detective because he's so good at his job. And here's a guy who, one of the first scenes with him, he shows up at Bruce Wayne's house and tells him, he delivers the speech, hey, I know who you are. I know that you're Batman. And some people were like, what? Even his story, some people don't buy it. Some people think it's too coincidental or it's too much. I'm okay with it. I'm okay. Just his character really wanting to help, really wanting to help Gordon, help Batman any which way he can. I think it's all great. Matthew Modine plays the new lieutenant who, out of the new characters, out of just this whole movie, he's the one character that kind of annoys me, and that's kind of the point. But some of the lines that he's as dumb as he dresses, I'm gonna do what Gordon couldn't do and catch Batman. Sometimes you're like, just shut the hell up, dude. And they try to give him a character arc because he's afraid to go out and fight, but then when he finally does, he dies at the end. And at the end of the day, I don't really care. Some of the other stuff in the movie, let's talk about the Bat. The Bat is one of the coolest things that this trilogy introduced. You had the Tumbler, you had the Bat Pod, but the Bat is just this big, huge, it looks like the Tumbler, but it flies. How awesome is that? The moment when Bane fights Batman for the first time and they're in the sewer, and it's hard to watch seeing Batman be overpowered and just dominated physically by anybody. That never happens. If anybody gets the Batman, it's usually maybe mind games or mentally, but physically you never see it happen, especially in the movies. And watching Bane just really pick apart Batman throughout the fight. He's talking trash. Everything he's saying is right, though, and he's almost kind of getting to Batman's head. And then when he destroys him, when he picks him up and breaks his back,
Oh, your buddy!
it's straight out of the comics. It's one of those images, one of those moments that you never thought you would see in a live-action movie. But then we got it. And it was just as brutal and just as painful and hard to watch. Bane puts Bruce Wayne into the pit, and Bruce Wayne spends months and months with a broken back and just dealing with this injury, and watching him strung up, trying to get healthy, and watching him on the TV while he's seeing Bane take over Gotham, take it hostage. The one part where he takes those special ops guys and hangs them from the bridge. Like, this is a PG-13 movie. And you see them hanging, and Bruce is going nuts because he can't do anything about it. It's horrifying. These are terrorists, and we're seeing all these terrorist acts committed, and Batman is helpless. He can't do anything. Even the moment where he's still strung up and he hallucinates. Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson's cameo, is chilling when Bane first takes the city hostage. The scene where he blows up the football field. It's something that, yeah, we saw in the trailer. Sure, we knew that it was coming, but it still has an impact. I remember when that first trailer where it showed it, my friend and I watched it together, and we looked at each other like, holy shit, this is legit. This is going to the next level. In the chaos, we get another cameo, which was very much appreciated. Jonathan Crane, Cillian Murphy. I love him playing the judge and sentencing people to death or exile. I haven't talked about Marion Cotillard, who plays his character Miranda Tate. In the movie, she seems like a nice person, somebody that he can trust, and even somebody that he sleeps with and maybe falls in love with during the movie, right? Well, especially rewatching it, but I remember the first time I kind of knew. I don't know if it was spoiled for me through pictures online, right, of her being, we find out she's Talia al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul's daughter. And okay, even if you want to say that the surprise element wasn't there, for me, or most people who know the comics probably figured it out, I can only imagine what that reveal was for non-comic book fans, for fans who don't really know the lore of Batman and just watch the movies. That was probably a big shocking moment for them. So I guess for that it works, but also just the idea, just once again, the full circle of the fact that we had Ra's in one movie and we're continuing his legacy with his daughter, and it's something I like. We got, at least for the last 10-15 minutes or so, Talia al Ghul as the villain in a movie. I never would have guessed that I would have seen that one day. People complain and make fun of her death scene, and I don't know, I watch it, and to me it's fine. It's just fine. John Blake, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the reveal at the end that he's Robin, or at least his first name is Robin. Some people love that. Other people think it's cheap to just say, oh, his name's Robin, and that's it. I like it. I do. No harm, no shame, no foul. It's just a nice little Easter egg for the fans. The end battle, speaking of IMAX shot scenes, the end battle where it's the cops versus the League of Shadows and they're running towards each other in the streets. It's epic. It has this big epic fight feel, big finale feel, and I love that Batman comes back and has his second fight with Bane, gets the better of him. Punching Bane's mask and it's starting to break apart and Bane's getting erratic and he's swinging punches like crazy and he's going so fast. Like Tom Hardy really, like as a fighter, he scares me. The nuclear bomb, all of that is, I don't know if it's supposed to be like a tribute to the 60s show and the whole Batman getting the bomb out of the city, but if it is, perfect. And also, the death of Batman was something that was rumored before the movie, that was greatly anticipated by a lot of fans on whether or not they would actually do it and pull this off. And I remember going in nervous for the first time and watching the movie and seeing the ending that we got. I cried. I admit it, I cried in the theater with all my friends. I didn't care, I just cried. The statue that was made for Batman, the scene of Alfred at the funeral crying, saying, I failed you. Like, man, the feels were on display for this ending. When Alfred first earlier delivered this fantasy that he had about seeing Bruce go off and be happy somewhere in France, and the end of the film where you see that, when he sees Bruce and he's with Selina, and he gets his happy ending. Is it the weakest in the trilogy? I like it too much to say that. You say weakest and it sounds bad, but I love all the movies. Maybe it's just slightly below Batman Begins, but it's still up there. This trilogy is amazing. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of The Dark Knight Rises? Do you like it? Do you love it? Or do you hate it? That's fine. We can talk about it. If you do hate it though, let me know, what do you hate the most about it? Or what do you like the most about it? That could be good too. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!